James Melendez, thank you for coming by. These two bottles are next. Rare, no longer produced bottles of wine. I'll give my thoughts and impressions on the Pivot Plus and the performance on this, so stay tuned. Please give a like, subscribe to this channel. My first experience with Pivot Plus was on bottles of wine that are still produced. Now, these bottles here, they're by a producer called Xurus. Xurus, this is a Cabernet Sauvignon Sonatina Vineyard, Lake County. These are no longer produced, 2010, 2011. And so it's very exciting to have these bottles of wine. You get the Pivot device, Aerator, 2 stoppers. You get 2 capsules that go for 4 bottles of wine. So first I'm gonna do the 2010 bottle and try this out and see how this goes. Pouring, but what I think is really important, I have 4 reasons. I don't want to rush through a bottle of wine. So I also don't want to be rushing through, tasting through a rare vintage, perhaps something that's no longer produced, no longer available. And so that's the case here with these wines here. These are $250 a piece. So, you know, when I think about that, that's $500 worth of bottles right here. And so when I have the Pivot Plus, I'm able to really enjoy and experience that without a rush. These are rare, no longer produced bottles. I want to share that with someone else. So I have quite a number of people that I want to share this with and taste just a little bit of that over time. An older bottle, I think it's really nice. These are older vintages, a generation old. It's 2024, 2010, and 2011. I really want to enjoy that experience. To have a high level of confidence is very important for me. So these are 2010, 2011. When I think of any product out there today, there's no other product quite like wine where you have a vintage dating. And that truly helps me to understand that experience at time. Even these, say the weather, vintage variation on each of these bottles. And also to really experience that in terms of my own personal life and thinking about, wow, those are great years. And to think about and contemplate just for a moment and not to rush through that experience. And so this really allows me that luxury of time and the luxury of tasting in a high quality manner and not giving up anything for that. This is May 2024. The wine would just fall apart basically. And that's not what's happening here. It is completely elegant, beautiful. The coloration is exactly consistent with how and when I first opened this bottle up. So you can smell and know that it's aged, and to that point, it would probably be undrinkable as well. Such a beautiful black fruit character to this wine, freshly ground spices, hardwood as well as dried thyme and wild sage. When I think Lake County, it's superbly high quality Cabernet fruit, and I think the way they vinified the wine. So this does not have a sense of aging on it yet, and ultimately this will go on for a good number of years, maybe another 10 years, and it's going to be quite drinkable and delightful. Is it at its optimum? I'm not really sure about that, but ultimately I think it's a fantastic bottle of wine. And next I'm going to try the 2011. And it makes me sad in a way that they're no longer producing these wines, because I think Lake County is an undiscovered wine country for Cabernet Sauvignon and many other varieties, and ultimately gets a higher elevation than, say, Napa, which is a neighbor to Lake County. Also a sense of higher UV exposure. Ultimately, that does translate into the experience of the wine itself. You have a nice differential between night and daytime temperature. Hence, that differential translates into acid development. Simmering spices, evergreen forest, sense of freshness on this wine, which I think is pretty outstanding for a 2011 wine here in 2024. Black bramble and black cherry notation. Very profound and beautiful acidity. A much longer aging potential, say to 2030, is going to be very, very doable on this wine. Blackberry, cassis notes, as well as rose petal. So both dried and fresh red rose petal is evident on this wine. And I think it has a sense of elegance and finesse. And it really is that capture of 30 days ago, which I find to be completely exciting. And it's near and dear to me. It's very important to me to have that experience. I gave the Pivot Plus a 97 point in my previous review. This is really, I would say, 98 points based on this experience, based on these older wines, these rare wines, and it did its job so tremendously well and preserved these wines exactly the way I hoped it would be preserved. And so I think it's an essential system, especially if you have a nice wine collection, if you're a sentimentalist like me, if you really prize and want to actually share out the wines with other people. It's a nice way to have that preserved for at least 30 days. So for every canister, you get 4 bottles preserved. And that's a really nice factor there. So if you don't have a Pivot Plus in your wine bar, you should consider getting one. And I mean that wine bar or your wine cellar at your home, and to enjoy this and to really expand that experience and not feel rushed, not feel a sense that your wines are not the optimum as when you first open them. So thank you for watching. Give a like, subscribe to this channel, and I'll put all the videos that I've done reviews on the Coravin and also these wines from Xurus. I will see you in the next video review. Please give a like, subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you very soon. Santé.